Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's episode of CCIR Student Research Spotlights. I'm your host, Nell, and today I'm welcoming Anna, who is in her school grade year 2027. Is that when you're graduating?
Yes.
Yeah. From South California. And during her time with CCIR, she worked on a project titled Inequality in the Art Industry, how race, gender, and location shape representation, which sounds super interesting. And she worked with Professor Andrea Bernini. So, welcome, Anna. I'm really pleased to be talking to you today. Please, could you start by telling us about your project, giving us an overview, and maybe also saying where your inspiration came from?
Yeah, of course. So, I would say my main inspiration for the project is because I'm also very involved in the arts myself. I specifically like to write, dance, and also act. So, I think what inspired me was a lot of the things I noticed, like how casting directors or teachers make their decisions when they're giving out art opportunities. And that just inspired me to dive more into the patterns of how the art industry is shaped. And so in my research project, I mainly talk about three different components. First is race. And I started off by analyzing five different racial groups, which were white Americans, Black Americans, Hispanics, Asians, and then American Indians. I wanted to see the different percentages and shares they held in the arts industry and just the patterns on that. And then the second one was about gender. I split the five different racial groups by male and female, and I just wanted to see how those patterns played out when you compared them with the race as well. And then for county location, I compared the map of the general population of that particular race with the number of our workers of that race. And then I wanted to see the correlation between the two.
That's so interesting. Yeah, looking at the interplay of all these things, it must have been fascinating. What kind of patterns did you come up with? I'm curious to know. What did you discover?
Well, for race, we started off just by gathering data from the census. We found different jobs that were art related, and then we found that there was a dominance of white Americans for almost all of the jobs that were art related at around 90%. And then the four other racial groups we talked about, they were they were equally split about less than 10% combined. So there was a significant gap in the representation. And I found that for Black Americans and Hispanic art workers, although they rose from around 3% to 5%, um, the number of art workers rose while the population remained around the same. So it shows that the overrepresentation of white Americans has decreased a bit, while the representation of Black Americans and Hispanic Americans increased. And this was the same for the American Indians. However, it was just not as much. You could see just a tad bit of an increase while their population also increased. So that might have been just due to the fact that their overall population increased. And then there was an interesting pattern for Asian Americans, and it was kind of an opposite pattern than Black or Hispanic Americans, where while their population increased, the total population, the number of art workers stayed the same and even decreased a little over the time period, which shows that their interest in pursuing the arts has decreased, even though their population increased.
Okay. Wow. What sort of artworks were you looking at? Any specific? I mean, you said you're into dance and writing, so any particular field, like speciality of artworks were you looking at, or um, when you say the arts, what is it you mean exactly in this context?
hmm So I kind of wanted to cover the entirety of arts. So this included both art, drama, music teachers, authors, designers, actors, painters, sculptors. So kind of artists from both performing arts, literary arts, and like visual arts. It was just kind of a broad like category of all types of artists that the census included.
Ooh, okay. And so when you were doing your research, how much sort of where did you go about finding all of this research? How did you access all of this information? And at what point did you at what point did you know where to draw the sort of limitations of it as well? Because I feel like it must be the kind of topic where you can sort of, you know, go so far into exploring all different reasons behind all of these patterns that you're looking at. How did you keep it all concise? Sorry, I know that's like two questions in one, but yeah.
Um, to answer the first question, like beforehand, when I was like trying to figure out where to get the data from, I did come across a research paper and they like sampled different students at a university and whether they were planning to pursue arts or not. And that kind of inspired me, and I initially wanted to get access to the data they used and the samples they conducted. But it wasn't possible because I think they didn't respond to our emails and requests. So from there, I wanted to focus on something different and more on the labor workforce of the arts rather
Mm.
than students who were planning to enter the workforce. And so from then on, I could use the data available on the US Census, which really helped me break down by race, gender, and location. And I think I wanted to focus on these three components because I think a lot of what I see in my personal experience, these three factors play a lot in my personal experience. So I wanted to see if my experience aligned with those patterns in the workforce. And so I experimented around with like different combinations of different components to see like which ones had results or like data that was the most interesting. And these three were the ones that were most interesting.
Fantastic. That's really cool. And so, how did you find that CCIR was able to help you um, in this project? Like, what were the benefits of working with CCIR?
hmm So this was actually my very first research project. So it was like I was a little nervous going into it, not really sure like what to expect.
Mhm.
But I think CCIR, the staff there, they did a great job because the onboarding handbook, like I read through it and I was like, oh, okay, I have an idea of what to do now, and it just relieved a lot of my stress. And then also my mentor specifically, because he always paused and asked like, oh, if I had any questions, because I was new to all this. And he introduced me to a lot of resources like the US Census and also how to filter data on what you're looking for specifically because there were a lot of things I didn't know how to navigate and he used software and helped me filter the data and use it in a way that could help me with my research.
Fantastic. I'm pleased to hear that. So, how do you feel like you've grown throughout this experience? Seemingly, you've learned a lot about how to do research. But yeah, how do you kind of feel you compare from before you started to now?
I think that like I have a better understanding of the resources I can use, and also how to navigate them to get the data that I might need for another research project. And I also think that my mentor helped me with the research about like what topic I wanted to do because in the beginning we read a lot of like different papers in the topic I was interested in, and he also helped me realize like how to um, take a broad topic and make it more concise and focused to get like the specific data and research I'm looking for.
Yeah, I think that's really important because this is such a huge topic where there's so much to explore within it. And it's so interesting. I think I would have absolutely no idea how to sort of ground it. No, that's really great to hear. So, were there other people working on in within the same category of this section of the program? Like, what was your kind of social experience of being a part of CCIR, if there was one at all?
I was a part of the one-on-one mentor tutoring, so
Okay,
I really got that like focus from my mentor. So like everything felt very personalized and I felt like I could just ask him anything because um it was just the two of us and we had like a lot of time to discuss the specifics of the project.
that's cool. And do you feel like this project has inspired you to think about future projects? Anything you might like to research going forwards, or sort of, university, if you're thinking of applying to university, has it influenced you in that way?
Yes, I definitely want to like continue researching the arts because I think it is like a big topic and there are like many other factors to look at. For example, how like socioeconomic statuses impact like opportunity or impact you from like entering the arts workforce, as well as just like the income distributions in the arts. I think those are like future topics that I might want to explore. And yeah, this research opened my eyes to like many other components of the research on the same topic.
Yeah, I'm sure. Fantastic. Could you tell us a little bit about your application process, like how you came to discover CCIR and what the application involved? If you have any advice for people who are going to be doing the application, that'd be great.
Yeah, so my teacher at my school actually like there was like a little poster or like an email sent out saying like, "Oh, these are like a list of research opportunities." And so when I was applying for CCIR, I think some advice I would give is to definitely have like an idea of what you want to do in mind because when you like get into the program, there's like it would be better to use your time into like making your research project better and not have to spend a lot of time like thinking of an idea. You want to have like you don't have to have a specific idea, but just having like a topic or a couple in mind and having the time to explore that really helps. And yeah, that was something that helped me with my application was just having an idea of what I wanted to do.
Yeah, okay. Is there anything you wish you'd known before going into the process that you would recommend to people other than that? Um, yeah, is there anything you wish you'd known?
Um, like going into the mentorship or
Yeah,
the okay.
the whole experience. Like looking
Okay.
back, is there anything you would want to change necessarily? It's fine if not.
I would say like definitely to like always get um like always having this mindset of like, you know, there can be more done and not doing the bare minimum. Like, I would say like getting started early on like what your mentor assigns you. That way you can get more done in the span of the time because for me, I only had 14 weeks. And so like making best use of the 14 weeks is probably really beneficial. And asking your mentor a lot of questions is very helpful as well.
Yes, yes. Making use of that resource, definitely.
Mhm.
Fantastic. So what would you say are the highlights of your time at CCIR? What are you taking away from it? Yeah, what are the best bits?
I would say my favorite part of it was just like the ending, seeing it all come together, and also getting like the main results done. I think that was like a very happy moment for me, just seeing all the results come together and seeing all these like interesting patterns emerge and finally being put into words. And there was like a lot of encouragement from my mentor, and it just felt like a very satisfactory like time.
Yeah, I can imagine it must be incredibly rewarding. I mean, it's an amazing thing to have achieved. It's fantastic. Um, Amazing. Right. So if there's anything else you'd like to add, um, if not, then it's been amazing chatting to you. Um, yeah, final words of advice for anyone thinking of applying to CCIR.
I think I'd like to just thank my mentor and also the staff at CCIR because even after my mentorship ended, I was like submitting to journals, and then the staff at CCIR were like very eager to help me look over it and edit it. And as well as my mentor, just for helping me construct and guide me through this whole thing, even though I had very little experience, and now I have a lot more experience than I did when I started. And so I'm just very thankful.
That's really great to hear. And yeah, I'm glad it's been such a positive thing. So thank you so much, Anna, and best of luck with everything.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.